Hi guys, it's ALCHEMY. How's everyone doing? Good, 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 I hope. I'm here today to talk to you about 10 great green fragrances. Spring is upon us, and when it comes to spring, it's really easy to reach for the florals because, you know, spring, flowers, kind of goes hand in hand. But I personally like to wear green fragrances in spring because I think that they work just as well, if not better sometimes, than florals. What is a green fragrance? I'm not talking about just the color of the perfume, but more often than not, when a fragrance is themed on green, it kind of looks green as well. But I'm talking more about the materials and, most importantly, the way it smells. What constitutes a green fragrance? It's easy to blur the line between aromatic, herbal fragrances and green, but they are separate. Some of them cross over a little bit, but herbal fragrances and green are different. Green fragrances are things that contain things like leaves or grass or even fig sometimes. Even though fig is a fruity note in perfume, it's green too. But the biggest player of all is galbanum, and galbanum is a green resin which smells sticky, semi-sweet, smooth. I always say it's like shelled peas, carrot peelings, that type of stuff. So without further ado, here are my 10 great green fragrances. Yay. So the first one on the list is Eau De Lierre, and it's by Diptyque. I could easily have put Philosopos on this list, but I think it's done and dusted. I think everyone knows that it's a green figgy fragrance. Eau De Lierre doesn't get as much attention, and I think it's really cool. It's a great one to kick off this video. It means ivy water, and this one does contain galbanum. It also has rosewood, cyclamen, and I think a little bit of pepper. This one smells like a hedgerow. A lot of the times with galbanum, it can be a galbanum fest. It can take over everything because it's an extremely powerful material. But in this fragrance, it's paired together with enough things that the galbanum is a part of it as opposed to being the main player. And it smells like a hedgerow. When I was younger, I used to walk past hedges and pick the leaves off, much to my neighbour's annoyance, but I did. I was a kid, I can't help it, sorry. And this has got an extremely leafy, kind of vine smell that's a little bit sappy, woody as well. It's on the drier side of green, so I wanted to put it on the list. Go and try it out if you can. Ivy Water by Diptyque. The next one is called Flower Boy, and it's by D.L Roelen. I have been talking about this brand quite a lot recently, and I have done a spotlight on them and reviewed 2 of their perfumes individually. This is amazing. It's actually not listed or categorized as a green perfume or fragrance, but when I smell it, I think green. It's a rose fragrance with tobacco and marigold, and it's kind of leathery as well. I've never really smelled a leather green before. Maybe, but none that stick out as much as this one. It's absolutely spectacular, super unique fragrance that I just enjoy wearing so much. I'm so glad to own it. And this is one of definitely the most unusual or different greens in the bunch. It's really great to pair a kind of subdued suadiness with the green facets of materials that don't typically feel green in perfume. So that's where that one is. Very avant-garde, very, very cool. The next one on the list is Ambergreen, and it's by a company called Oliver & Co. I've only tried 2 perfumes by this brand, this one and another one called Resina, and both of them are absolutely fantastic. I need to smell the rest. But this one has a multitude of green notes. It has leaves, it has basil, it has grass, galbanum as well. Like I said, galbanum's gonna pop up quite a lot. This one's brighter, it's much fresher and cleaner than Flower Boy. It's definitely a springtime fragrance. Again, it's unique. I haven't smelled a green fragrance like this before, so that's why I wanted to put it on the list. I have 2 samples of it, and when I wear it, I feel a bit elevated. So I love this brand. I am intrigued by them. And Ambergreen is, although it smells niche and it smells different, it's really wearable. It's not a wacky, crazy green that's gonna make people say, what on earth do you smell like? The next one on the list is the Ultra Green. I have never smelled a perfume that is this intensely green before. It's called Fathom 5 and it's by Beaufort, London. This fragrance is inspired by murky water under pirate ships. It smells like you've been rolling around in a meadow, frolicking in a meadow all day. It's super grassy, this one. The note list is very extensive. There's a lot of stuff going on, but to me it's all about grass. There is a big note of lilies in this one, aquatic sort of lilies, and more aquatic going on. There's also the tiniest touch of smokiness because that is Beaufort's signature, I would say. They have some of the smokiest perfumes I've ever tried, but this is their green fragrance and it's very powerful. It's very in your face. It's super dense, this one. It's a thick, heady green and probably the strongest on the list. Fathom 5 by Beaufort. The next one is one of my favorite fragrances, I think, ever. It's not in my top 10, but it's really high up there. And it's gone through a change and the name's changed and it's gotten a bit confusing. But anyway, it's Donna Karan, DKNY Women, it used to be called. I think it's now called Energizing. So yeah, maybe find that one because the other one is discontinued. It used to come in this holographic packaging. It's a really tall bottle that's, when you look at it from the top, it's a rhombus. Can't believe I just said rhombus. It's a diamond shape, something like that. This is amazing. It's a tomato leaf fragrance and I love tomato leaves in perfume. This one's paired together with bright citruses and a vodka note. It's a real big compliment getter. It's the freshest one on the list and there's something just sexy about it. This is tomato leaf done in a really good way because I've smelled fragrances with tomato leaf before where you smell like leaves. This one, it's almost a smellusion, and that's a word that I'm gonna keep using because I made it up and I really like it, okay? It's like a smellusion. You wouldn't immediately think, oh, that's tomato leaves, but it's definitely a bright, cold, kind of sexy green smell and I love it. I want to get the new one. I haven't tried it, but I know that it smells the same as the original Women one. So DKNY Women, which is now called Energizing in a very, very tall bottle. The next one is a fragrance that I really like but don't currently own. I will eventually, or I hope to eventually. It's called Beach Hut Man and it's by Amouage. Don't let the name fool you. I don't really think the theming is on with this one, on trend or on point, should I say. There's not really much beachiness going on. It is in fact a green fragrance. This one does push over to aromatic a little bit more because there's quite a lot of mint in it. Really strong one. Reminds me of a hotel I stayed in Disneyland Paris. I know that doesn't help you guys with reference. If you stayed at the Newport Bay in Disneyland Paris, it smells like that hotel. Multiple green elements going on with this one. Herbal, planty, super strong, bright, long-lasting green perfume that has the Amouage sophistication that I really, really like. So, Beach Hut Man by Amouage. The next one is a fragrance that I recently added to my collection after smelling it last summer. I went and smelled it, put it on a blotter, laid the blotter next to my bed, and all evening I kept getting these wafts and I didn't even know where it was coming from because I guess I was having a stupid moment. But it is Dad's Garden by Lush. Really, really like this one. It's another one that isn't listed as a green perfume, but when I smell it, it feels green. It's a honeysuckle fragrance with chamomile, and the honeysuckle in this is kind of sour. It's got this beautiful polleny sour type smell to it. It wafts so beautifully. It's kind of really long lasting, I would say as well. It's not too shouty or loud, but it definitely makes its presence known. It really leans more towards honeysuckle than it does chamomile, and I wanted to get it because I don't have a fragrance in my collection, or didn't, that lent that far into honeysuckle. So it's, like I said, it's kind of sour. It's got it's kind of like almost curdled, but in the most pleasant way possible. Really, really unusual, and yeah, it's gonna be my spring fragrance. I'm gonna wear it a bunch in spring. I cannot wait. So Dad's Garden, Honeysuckle and Chamomile by Lush. The next one is by a brand that I don't think I've ever mentioned on my channel before, but every time I go to Javoy in Mayfair in London, I pick up this perfume and I smell it. I do have samples of it, and it's called Liberatrice, and it's by a brand called Berry. need to smell more of their fragrances. I've only tried 2 and I've been really impressed. This one again isn't listed as a green perfume, and when you look at the notes as well, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be green, but I smelled this without knowing what was in it at all. It was something that I just picked up and smelled, and it felt green to me. This is gorgeous. It is kind of spiky green, I would say. It's a little bit smoky, it's a little bit rough, and I'll tell you a very quick story as well. Some of you that know me know that I have been searching for this one perfume. About 15 years ago, I was in a shop, a little tiny shop right near where I lived, and this lady walked in and she smelled amazing. Didn't ask her what the fragrance was, kind of been hunting for it ever since. Not actively, but waiting to kind of find something that's like it. This one is probably the closest I've smelled to how that woman smelled when she walked into the shop. So very high on the wish list. Amazing, amazing fragrance. So it has carnation, it has incense in it, this one. That's why I said it was spiky, a bit spicy. There's cumin as well, but it doesn't smell too badly of cumin, so don't let that put you off. There's juniper, patchouli, rose, and cedarwood. So I guess maybe juniper contributes to the greenery, but this is a great one, and I'm probably going to wear it after this video because I've had a sample for a long time. So Liberatrice by Berry. The next one is The Soft Lawn, and it's by Imaginary Authors. I do want to say something about this fragrance that I'm going to just say it. I feel like in the last couple of years, Imaginary Authors have changed this perfume and they didn't say anything about it. I mean, they don't have to. They're not obliged to tell us, but this fragrance is a great one. I used to prefer it a lot more back in the day. This one is Linden Blossom, and Linden Blossom is a note that I think is just so underused in perfumery. It is used, but it's never the forefront. And this fragrance is Ivy again. It's Linden Blossom, it's grassy, and there's vetiver in it. It does have a dusty, dry feeling, which is true to Imaginary Authors' signature. Now, going back to what I said, it used to be much more focused on linden, and now it's focused more on vetiver. So it was much greener before. It's still green now, but it's more woody now. It's even drier than it was before. Still a great fragrance, and still in my top 5 from Imaginary Authors, I would say. And it has that fantasy tennis ball accord as well. And clay, I think. Yeah, clay as well. So it's a kind of weird avant-garde green one, but it's not too out there. It's still wearable, especially if you like vetiver. And the last one on the list is gonna be a little bit of shameless self-promotion. Don't judge. It is my little fragrance, FAun, yay! Ooh, magical. My fragrance FAun that I made many years ago is now available to buy. It fits this theme. I've never really smelled a green oriental before. It's not really the families that you see blend into each other, possibly, but it's not anything that I can remember. It's not something I see very often. So I wanted to make a fragrance that was kind of both. My fragrance is a touch vintage. It has things like herbs in it. It has lotus, freesia, and jasmine. The base is oriental. It has a popanax and a dark amber accord with sandalwood. There is also tobacco in this one. There's aldehydes in it, which give it a touch vintage, and a little bit of bergamot to finish it off. So if you want to smell something that I think is very unique, I'm going to blow my own trumpet. It smells somewhere between a vintage green and an oriental. So yeah, I created it to smell a little bit magical, a little bit wondrous, and to really evoke a feeling of that mythical creature and where it lives. So there's musk as well to give that little bit of animalic. So yeah, FAun by Moi is the 10th fragrance on my green list. There's a link in the description to show you where you can buy it if you want to try it out. But for now, that is my 10 green fragrances for spring. I hope you guys like this video. I'm ALCHEMY, trying to make the world smell better, one video at a time. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.